Welcome to Hear From Where, a podcast about the journeys that shape us. I'm your host, Chef Andrew Garrett, and each week I'll sit down with incredible individuals who've carved their own paths in health, nutrition, entrepreneurship, sports, and beyond. This is where we dive deep into the stories of determination, resilience, and passion, the moments that brought them here, from where they started. Whether you're looking for inspiration, a spark to start your own journey, or just love hearing amazing stories, then you're in the right place. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's explore what it really takes to follow your dreams. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Hear From Where podcast. I'm your host, Chef Andrew Garrett. Today, I am joined by Charles Carr of Class 1 Barbecue out of Amarillo, Texas. I am very excited to get into this. Charles was a leader in the tank battalion that I was a part of in the early 2000s. So I've really have a huge love of your leadership style and the man that you kind of helped a lot of soldiers to become through your leadership, and to see the growth that you've experienced over, I hate to say it, it's 23 years.
Been a while.
And you know, so today you're really pushing the boundaries on barbecue, and I have not been down to test it out yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So where did the barbecue journey really start for you? Because I have so many questions about barbecue. It's one of those things that, everybody's got their idea of what it is. So I want to get it straight from the horse's mouth, if you will.
Right.
Like, where did it start for you?
So for me, it started back in my childhood, growing up in Western Oklahoma. Grew up in a town called Clinton, Oklahoma. It's right off I-40, old Route 66, between here, Amarillo, and Oklahoma City. I'm the sixth of seven kids, 4 boys, 3 girls. And my father worked as a leak technician for Oklahoma Natural Gas. But during the summer, on the weekends, he did a lot of barbecuing. He had a custom brick pit, which is very similar to the brick pit, the huge, massive brick pit that they have down in Louis Miller down in Taylor, Texas. Very similar to that. That was my first introduction to barbecue. I often tell people that I really did not know what charcoal was until I was probably about 10 or 11 years old. And that was when my dad had a custom grill made for steaks. But other than that, I got introduced to barbecue at an early age, all wood fire smoke. My dad made his own rubs. He made his own barbecue sauce from scratch. Matter of fact, he was the first person I ever heard say, good barbecue does not need barbecue sauce. So, and my father, he was a pit master in his own right. He was a perfectionist. Everything he did was to the T. And then when I left and right out of high school, in 91, I went right into the military, where I served for the next 13 years. Did several tours in Germany and Hood and Fort Stewart and Knox, and, a couple of tours in Iraq, one in Kosovo. And then I got out of the military in 04 and started working out here in Amarillo at a place called Pantex. And worked there for about 20 years before I took an early retirement. Probably about 4 or 5 years prior to that, the notion of wanting to cook barbecue came back to me. Had a guy who worked at the plant I used to work at build me a custom offset smoker, 150 gallon, which I affectionately call Big Bertha. And so that's where I started tinkering with briskets and, slow smoking ribs and, incorporating a lot of things that I watched my dad do, and then some things that I learned on my own. And so the love for it came rushing back, and we started getting better and better and better. And long story short, here we are doing Central Texas style barbecue.
That's awesome. I love it when folks have had something in their lives for that long of time and seeing it from their fathers, their brothers, their uncles, passing it down through generations, really, especially when it comes to food. Because I think that food, in today's world, we kind of take for granted where food comes from.
Right.
And we're so programmed to just have like, I want it right now, I want it right now, just that quick instant gratification. And barbecue is anything but quick and instant. Like,
That's true.
barbecue is time. Like, what does it look like for y'all to get started in your day? Like, what time do you guys start the fire, really?
So on an average day, our day starts at 3:30 a.m. And we always start with the brisket because that's the protein that takes the longest, obviously. So we start smoking that meat the day prior. So let's say if we're going to open Wednesday to start the week, we'll start smoking those briskets on Tuesday morning. So, and we'll just do nothing but briskets that day. So the briskets will go on around 3:30, 4 a.m. They'll get about a 3-hour cold smoke. And then we start elevating the temperature as we go further along into the cook. Briskets take typically, in the winter months, they take anywhere from 12 to 14, maybe 15 hours. We have gone as long as 16 hours. And during the summer, they go probably about 10 or 11 hours. And the reason for that is because we have 2 1,000-gallon offset pits, and they're housed within a metal building. So during the summertime, that metal building is attracting heat. Then you got the smoker attracting heat. So you got all this radiant ambient heat. So obviously the briskets are going to cook quicker. So in the summer, you're looking at about a 10 to 11 hour smoke. Wintertime, you're looking at 12 to 14 hours. So yeah, the day typically starts around 3:30 a.m.
Dang, I've dabbled in barbecue. I haven't really like gone full in because I don't really understand it, and I get a little bit nervous. And if I don't understand something, I'm really kind of like, I'll just leave this to the professionals type deal.
Right.
And so hearing that, like, that sounds daunting, is to really put that much time into something. And now, are you guys are rubbing the briskets, and then you're getting the fire started, you're getting them on. What are you doing in between that time?
So I'll just take you from the time when we get the briskets delivered to the time they're getting to the customer.
All right.
So let's say briskets get delivered today, and we're going to start smoking tomorrow. So the briskets will get delivered in the morning around 9, 10 a.m. We'll take accountability of the briskets, and then we start trimming the briskets. So you start trimming them, you get them all aerodynamic. You trim off the excess fat, which we take and we make tallow out of that. And then we season the briskets with 16 mesh black pepper, kosher salt, and then we have our own house rub, which is mostly what my dad used on his briskets. And we'll let the briskets do a dry brine overnight to let the spices and everything settle into the meat. And then the next morning, they go on the pit between 3:30 and 4 a.m. And then they'll go until about 4, 6 o'clock in the evening. And then we'll take them off. Once they come down to a certain temperature, then we'll put them in the warmer so that they can continue to rest. Briskets are resting anywhere from 12 to 16 hours. Anybody that knows anything about briskets know that the longer you rest a brisket, the better it is. So we'll let the briskets rest, and then at 11 a.m. the next morning when we're slicing into it, it's like slicing into a piece of heaven. So we take great pride in our briskets. We receive nothing but great accolades for our briskets. As a matter of fact, Daniel Vaughn, who's the barbecue editor of Texas Monthly, he gave our brisket high praise, which helped put us on the map. And yeah, that's a typical day. So you're looking at about easily a 36, 40-hour preparation for something that's going to be devoured in 10 minutes.
Right. That's amazing. Like, and again, getting into the process of care and love that goes into food. I really, in today's world, in today's culinary world, I preach so heavily of like, take the time to do it right. And that's, that's the biggest thing is like having the patience. How do you find the patience? Like, what is it for you that drives that patience into discipline to take the time to do it right?
Well, I think, having come from the military yourself, you've heard the term before, do it right the first time. And so, my dad was a perfectionist in his own right, on top of being a pit master in his own right. And then what gives you the patience is, first and foremost, it's a labor of love, because not anybody wants to sit up under a brisket for 12 to 16 hours. So it's definitely a labor of love. But where I get the enjoyment is knowing what the outcome is going to be when I'm done, and knowing what I'm slicing into is perfection, or as good as I can get it. And then seeing the customer's reaction when when I cut off some burnt ends for them and I give that to them, seeing their faces light up, seeing their reaction. A lot of people here in Amarillo are not accustomed to the Central Texas style barbecue, which has become synonymous with the state of Texas. So it took us a little while to push that style of barbecue. But once they taste it, you can definitely taste the difference. There is a difference in the way you smoke meat. So that's what gives me the patience, to just sit there and nurture it and care for it and make sure it's done right.
Heck yeah. And it's a great segue into the styles of barbecue, because I think that especially, so I'm on the West Coast, and on the West Coast, we don't really have a concept of barbecue. We have a real, what I think is a mishmash of all these different styles, from Kansas City style, St. Louis style, Texas style, and even within like Texas style, as you're saying, there's differences in how it's done. Could you walk us through like what are the typical Texas styles and what makes Central Texas style so much different?
Well, here in the state of Texas, you have 4 regions, if you will, of barbecue. You have the East region, the Southern region, the Central region, and the Western. In the East, a lot of the barbecue is pork. It's focused around pork. Your pulled pork, your chicken, things of that nature. A lot of hickory wood, um, hickory wood and things like that. And then down in South Texas, you're going to get what they call the Tex-Mex vibe. You're going to get mesquite flavors. You're going to get the what they call barbacoa. Excuse me, barbacoa. When you get out west, it's a lot of direct heat. Again, using mainly mesquite, which is in abundant out here in West Texas. And then in Central Texas, the style of barbecue that has become synonymous with Texas, it's what they call a German Czech style, in which the meat is slow smoked. The protein of choice is beef. The German Czech immigrants, when they came here to turn the century, late 1800s, they brought that style of barbecue with them, where they would take tough, unpopular, if you will, cuts of meat, and they would slow smoke it. They knew if you slow smoked it, there's certain temperatures for hours on end, the meat would just come out decadent and tender. So, and there is a difference in the 4. And, like I tell people, the style of barbecue that has become synonymous with the state of Texas is Central Texas. And I think, people like Aaron Franklin, they definitely put it on the map. You have people coming here to Texas, taking it back to California, like Moo's Barbecue in California. You have a couple places in New York, South Carolina, Florida, in which the owners have come here to Central Texas to learn that style of barbecue. And then it's also recognized globally. You have people that have come in from Australia, South Carolina, Italy, England. And then there's a friend of mine named Kareem. He's down in Austin. He's got KG Barbecue. This gentleman is from Egypt, Cairo. quit his job as an investment banker in Cairo to come here and do this style of barbecue. He just came to Texas to visit a friend, and the friend introduced him to barbecue, and he fell in love with it so much. Now he's got his own barbecue business down in Austin. As a matter of fact, he was a James Beard runner-up. So he infuses Egyptian cuisine with Central Texas style barbecue. And so the Central Texas style is constantly evolving. We tend to do a little bit of infusing up here also.
Okay, so what are you guys infusing with?
So,
What's
for example, no one that I'm aware of in the state of Texas is doing Jamaican jerk spare ribs. So we're taking, a taste of Jamaica and infusing it with Central Texas style barbecue, low in smoke. Everybody's heard of Jamaican jerk chicken, but what about Jamaican jerk ribs? And so, again, when Daniel Vaughn, barbecue editor at Texas Monthly, came here, that was one of his favorites. And so it's not spicy. It's got a robust flavor, but we can make it spicy. We can kick up the heat if we want to. But right now, it has a nice, savory, robust flavor to it. So,
That's awesome. Yeah. I love it. So you can kind of manipulate, and I think a lot of times too is, folks get stuck in the idea that barbecue is this singular flavor of smoke, and then you add sauce. And like, to me, if you're adding sauce to barbecue, that's like kind of the East Coast deal, the Carolinas and St. Louis kind of style barbecue is like slathering a bunch of sauce on there and flipping and going. I personally prefer what you're talking about with Central Texas, where it's really it's about the spice and it's about the meat. It's not so much about the sauce.
Right, exactly. You go back to East Texas, Memphis, Kansas City, even South Carolina. The Carolinas, they do sauce their meat. But, and nothing wrong with that. We have a great barbecue sauce that we make from scratch, which was my daddy's recipe. But, I mean, it's there if you want it. But we, like my dad told me years ago when I was a kid, good barbecue does not need barbecue sauce. I mean, if you think about it, it's like this. You take a fine bourbon, that's been aged for years in these white oak barrels, and they've taken all this time and preparation to bring you something that's been aged for years on end to bring you a high quality bourbon. Why would you want to mess it up with a 50-cent soda? So it's the same thing with barbecue. You've taken 12 to 16 hours to smoke something and make it decadent, tender, and flavor and juicy. Why would you want to mess it up with barbecue sauce? That's just the way I look at it.
Oh, I love that. I love that perspective of it too, and it's a really good comparison that I think a lot of folks could let settle in, is because you don't think about it in that context. It's like, that's beautiful.
You want the true essence of the meat to shine through. You want to taste that.
Yeah.
You want to taste the meat. So, yeah.
Awesome. And now, so you and I were stationed together in Vilseck, Germany, which is down in southern Germany, pretty close to the Czech border. And so when I hear you say that the German Czech style is really that Central Texas. Now, did you have an opportunity while you were there, to get out and like see some of these like old school, old world styles of cooking, and that kind of like has helped influence you today?
No, actually I didn't. But you could tell that the way they prepared some of their meats, for example, boar, chicken, you can tell it wasn't done in an oven. I mean, they took their time and did this over wood, over coals. You can definitely taste the difference in what they did. So, no, I didn't. But at that time when I was in Germany, I really wasn't, getting back into barbecue. But you could definitely taste the difference.
Oh, yeah, that's one thing I loved about being down there, is I feel like southern Germany really had a great food history, and for me personally, the pastries were my favorite thing to go to. But like, everything you did, you're right, is like a lot of like the schnitzel and doing like even just the simple things like chicken were so much different than what I had experienced before stateside. And so, and luckily we had, you remember Chris Cullen. Yeah, Cullen. he went to Johnson and Wales Culinary School, and I had always been working in restaurants. So he and I did a lot of travel outside of Germany, just like trying all these different foods. And so I had a blast doing that. Getting into your military service, do you feel like your time in the military has helped you to, define your leadership style now in the kitchen, and how has that helped with, being in restaurants or in food?
It definitely has. You can definitely see that aspect in what we do, especially when you come to the pit house. One of the things that people often say when they come to the pit house is it's crazy because I've had several people come into the pit house. They see these massive smokers, but one of the comments they make, or the first comment they make, is, "Oh, it's so clean in here." Well, I mean, that's 13 years of military where, you got to do housekeeping. You got to keep the barracks clean, constantly doing GI parties. Your bunk better be made right. I mean, you got to keep your AO straight. That, 13 years of dealing with that, I've incorporated that with how we do things, especially in the pit house. I don't like clutter. I don't like things messy. I like to keep my area clean because you never know who's going to come into your pit house. So yeah, a lot of that, I've brought that into the business as well.
I love that. It's there's a lot to be said in our specific MOS, with being at 19 kilo, being tankers, there is constantly something to do, and there's always work to be done. And I think that a lot of times, and we get wrapped into this like, oh, the military is just like, oh, you got time to lean, got time to clean. And I've always brought that mentality into my kitchens, and my kitchens are always spotless. Right. Because it's not just got time to lean, got time to clean. It's I want to be prepared for what's coming. Like, exactly. I want to be prepared for that next step so that when it's time to go, we can go.
Right. Right. I mean, it's a testament to who you are too. It says a lot about you as well. I've seen some kitchens that are just downright horrible, just dirty and just nasty. You don't want to, if a lot of people seen some of these kitchens, they probably wouldn't eat in. Just to be honest, people tend to eat with their eyes, as we both know. So yeah, keep your area clean, as best you can. It's not hard, just clean as you go. But yeah, I'm a stickler for cleanliness.
I love it. One of the things that really helped me gravitate towards you and your leadership style, especially when I was this 20-something-year-old kid who, learning life, is how calm you are. Even, in an MOS that we were in, there was a lot of really high strung, high energy, loud, swear at you, get you going. But one thing that I always love seeing Staff Sergeant Carr is like, okay, I know he's going to lay out the plan. He's going to tell us what we need to get done. He's going to do it in a calm manner. And like your like presence was always such a calm one. Do you feel like the military kind of helped to calm down everything in the kitchen? Because like in the kitchen, you've got one fire going, you got another fire going. You've got to, hold on to this. You got to get this at the right temp. Has that been able to like help compartmentalize the kitchen for you?
Yeah. Especially, I spend a lot of my time in the pit house. My wife and my daughter, they have the kitchen area. I have the pit house. But yeah, there are certain things that I expect to be done at a certain time, in a certain way. Everybody does things different, but I do things my way. As far as keeping calm, I'm calm to a certain degree, but I will blow my stack. Don't get it twisted. I can't go Staff Sergeant Carr real quick. I'm just a stickler. I'm a stickler for time, and I'm a stickler for things being done a certain way. So we just hired a new pit hand a little over a month and a half ago. He comes in with a lot of experience, but there's certain things that I want done a certain way. I know you come here with a lot of knowledge, but this is how we do things here at Class 1. So, but yeah, I mean, what you see is what you get. I mean, you know how it was at Vilsex. So,
Oh yeah.
I'm Sergeant Carr was always cool, calm, and collected, but Sergeant Carr will definitely blow his stack if he needed to.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. Is you always led through example. Is you were never one of those leaders that was, hey, go get this done. Like, go get this done. You were always in it with us. Like, you were always, hands in the motor pool. You're working through people, different steps of the process, as well as, educating and helping people along the way. I was fortunate enough to have a conversation with a Marine tanker not too long ago. He works in the outdoor space. And one thing that he asked me when we were talking is like, do you think that being a tanker helped you to manage chaos? And I had to think about it. I was like, yeah, it really did, because, a lot of what we learn is, we've got to be communicating with a lot of different people. And so, as you're saying, with like this new guy coming in, is like learning his communication style, but also for tankers, you gotta work with air support, you gotta work with engineers, you gotta work with the 4 tanks in your company, plus you gotta work with the 4 tanks, in the next, platoon over, plus you gotta work on the battalion level. So you have a lot of different communication going on, and being able to do that in a kitchen and keep it, that's what helps keep things calm and collected. At least for me, it has been.
Right. And I agree. I mean, you have to be adaptable. You have to be able to adjust. Sometimes you have to do it on the fly. I mean, you just have to be able to handle certain situations, that may arise. Each and every one's different. Communication is definitely key. There are certain people that you can talk to a certain way and get things done. There are certain people that you can talk a certain way and not get anything done. So, as far as, in my area, in the pit house, I treat everyone with dignity and respect. And, since getting out of the military, I've calmed down quite a bit. So I'm a lot more patient in the pit house, and I try to keep it simple. Try to keep the block of instructions simple. This is what we're going to do. This is how we do it. And I think a lot of people, when they're explaining how to do something, they don't back it up with why we do it that way. Why do we put the briskets on and cold smoke them, for this many hours? And why are we always adjusting the temperature at such a time? And why are we wrapping them? Why are we spritzing them? Why are we using tallow? Why are we letting them rest? I mean, you can give them the reason. Well, you can show them how to do things, but you need to back it up with why we do it this way. Our briskets aren't the way they are, just because we smoke them for 12 to 14 hours. There's a lot of things that go on during that process, and this is why we do it this way. So, yeah, I agree with you on that.
I love that. And now, how did you get to barbecue? How did you make the decision to go into this full tilt? You said you took an early retirement from the career following the military, and this was just like all of a sudden you felt called to it. Like, what was that like for you?
Well, like I said, probably about 4 or 5 years before I retired from the job that I had previous to this, I started falling back in love with barbecue. And, I was cooking more brisket, for family get-togethers, things of that nature. Holidays would roll around, different, friends that I worked with in the neighborhood would ask me to smoke meat for Thanksgiving or Christmas. And, my wife, she's been there through it all, and she's seen the overall progression. And she could tell you that the meat has gotten considerably better. So when it got to a point where I, wanted to do this, she and I talked. She pretty much said, well, if you're going to do it, let's do it now. And so I'm thankful and grateful that her and my daughter and my son were all bought in. And yeah, it was scary. It was definitely scary, leaving a job such as the one that I had, paying me what they were paying me. I mean, you had all these doubts coming out of it. Am I doing the right thing? You still got time to turn around and go back to that job. God, if I'm doing the wrong thing, tell me, but sometimes you got to take a risk on yourself. You got to take a chance on yourself, and just pray about it ask God to lead you and guide you and direct you. Like my wife said, you have to take a leap of faith sometimes. You take people like Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world. He'll tell you that, with success comes sacrifice. You have to take risk, and I don't, when I take my last breath here on earth, I don't want there to be any regrets, none at all. And so, it has been hard. It has been difficult. But we continue to grind. We continue to persevere. But yeah, the love of it just came back to me, and we started getting better and better and better to where when we finally decided to pull the trigger on this, we were right where we need to be. And we're continuing to hone our skills as well. We're continuing to zero in. We're continuing to bore sight that main gun. Keep it tight.
Absolutely, and I love that right there is the continuing to grow. And I think that a lot of times, especially in the culinary world, is chefs kind of hit this point where they feel like they've hit it, they've made it, and they stop pushing towards something better each day. What is it that really helps you to drive for that 1% better each day? What is that like for you?
As we've often said in the military, and you've heard before, there's always room for improvement. It's just like the golfers always chasing the perfect golf swing. We're always, shooting for that perfect brisket. And because we're not perfect and we'll never be perfect, it just keeps making us better and better and better. I heard a guy say in the military, if you're an E4 and you want to make E5, then you need to try to make staff sergeant first. You understand what I'm saying? If you're an E5 and you want to make E6, try to push for E7. I can remember in high school, my coach and track coach would always make us run with the fast kids to make you faster because you're always chasing that perfection. So you'll never get perfection, but because you're striving to get perfect, you'll continue to get better each and every day. Me, I can't stand it when I have an undercooked or an overcooked, which I haven't done in many years, but I can't stand if I have an overcooked or an undercooked brisket. I can't, or ribs or anything, or even the sides. I mean, everything that goes out of our food truck is our reputation. So we got to be A1 every single time. You can't go down range with a tank that's not bore sighted. You're gonna be missing everything. You know what I'm talking about. You're gonna miss everything.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you gotta take that drift out of that reticle. I mean, you gotta do it right every single time in order to go into battle. So yeah, that's why I chase that perfection every day, bro. Every day.
I love that. And I think that's one of the things that really shows through food. I think food's really a great vehicle for that mentality and that passion, is to be able to, make that choice. People taste it. It, like you said at the beginning of our conversation, is, watching somebody enjoy something that you've spent this much time and this much love in, and watching that first bite, like, I love it when I see someone do the little happy dance, they kind of shake their head and they get into it, and you're like, yes, like that hits that inside part of me, and I'm like, yes. Now let's do it a little bit better next time.
I mean, we'll, here at Class 1, we are so well-rounded. And what I mean by that is, how many barbecue spots have you gone to where people put all the time and preparation into the meats and the sides are an afterthought? I mean, here, our sides is just as good as the meat. And then the desserts, my wife and my daughter, they make everything from scratch. And as well as I do, if you're making something from scratch, that's just more time put into it as opposed to just making something out of a can. I mean, we're bringing to our customers what we grew up with. And, the way our mothers and grandmothers made things, they made it from scratch. My mother was born in 1936, so her mom, who obviously was born in the late 1800s, early 1900s, was used to making things from scratch. Same thing with my mother. I mean, with my wife and her side of the family, everything was made from scratch. So when you come here to class 1, it's one thing when I cut you off a piece of burnt end and you see people's face and they're like, oh my God, and then, they're like, what are dirty greens?
Mm-hmm.
And then you give them a little sample of dirty greens. They're like, shut up. And then, they taste the banana pudding. They're like, oh my God, y'all are blowing my mind. We like to be well-rounded around here, man. Well-rounded. Everything, our heart and love and soul is put in everything that we do here at Class 1.
I love it. And I love that it's not just, a lot of times you hear folks talk about like what I've done and I've done this and I do that and I do this. What I hear in your story and how this has all come about and where you're going with it is it's a we. It's a very we thing, and it's, that support and that kind of family mentality to it it's a core value to food. And so that's awesome. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a family-oriented business. We did have a tragedy back in October when we lost our son. But even through all that, you got to keep moving. My son, he was a Marine. So if he were here right now, if he was, standing on my shoulder, he'd tell me, Pops, you got to keep going. You and I, combat vets, we know about combat. We've lost some friends. But at the end of the day, you got to continue the mission. You got to continue the mission. So, we took some weeks off. We've had our mourning and we're still in mourning. It's a pain that'll never go away. It'll always be right there on the surface. So now we dedicate this not just for my father, but we dedicate this for my son as well. It's motivation to keep us going. All the goals that he and I said we were going to do when it comes to this barbecue, we will continue to do it. We will continue to do it because now we have an even bigger purpose now. It's not just, bringing those quality, tastes and everything to our customers, but it's also personal for us, very personal. And we're definitely gonna keep going. Definitely.
That's beautiful. I love that. And it's such a testament again to that core family value of us, not just I, but we. And that is so huge. And entrepreneurs get so lost in the we part of this thing that they forget that core value of, we didn't get here on our own. Like this is a plethora of folks guiding us and sharing their lives with us and giving their experience and their strength and their hope so that we can pass our experience, strength, and hope onto the next person.
Yeah. I mean, with every plate that we serve, we're giving you a piece of us. We're giving you a piece of who we are as Class 1 Barbecue. It's me, my wife, my daughter, my son, and now, our new pit hand. I mean, we're giving you a taste of who we are. And we're giving you a taste of our history when we give it to you. So, yeah, it's more than just making money. I mean, everybody that's in the business, you want to make money, but it's more than that. It's more than that for us. We want to create a legacy. We want to create a history. We want to create a generational type thing to where, and we want it to be consistent to where if you're passing through town, such as your friend from Nebraska, if he doesn't come back for another 2-3 years, when he tastes it again, it's going to be the exact same experience he had back then. Yeah, it's definitely a family-oriented business, and that's the way it always will be.
Yeah. I love it. And you hit on something else that I love is it's not just about the meat, but it's also the sides. Because for me, like I love going to a barbecue place and getting all the sides because the sides are to me, they're so much fun. Because you can kind of like, you could take mac and cheese and like mac and cheese would be good on its own if it's done the right way, but then you add something to it, or like you take jalapenos and instead of just doing cream cheese, you're doing the next level.
Yeah.
Like sides, man.
We're doing some things with the sides, man. I mean, it's, you take our, just as we put as much time and love and effort into our meats, we do it with the sides too. You take our mac and cheese. We use 4 different types of cheese. We're using cheddar, we're using Colby Jack, we're using Gouda, and a little bit of Velveeta. But we take those 3 cheeses and we cold smoke them on the pit for like an hour and a half, 2 hours to get that smoke on them. You know, once they're nice and glazed and everything, we take them off, vacuum seal them, put them in the fridge, and that smoke is locked in. So when we say you're getting smoked mac and cheese, yeah, you're getting smoked mac and cheese, and you can taste that smoke flavor in there. Same
That's
thing,
awesome.
same thing with our what we call B53 poppers, which is our jalapeno poppers. You know, we're taking the cream cheese, we're cold smoking it too. Once it comes off the pit and it's ready, we'll take, chopped brisket, put that in there with it. Then we'll take our peach habanero glaze, we'll put it all in a bowl, we'll mix it all up, put that in the jalapenos, double wrap them twice with bacon, put them back on the pit, and they're smoked for 3 hours. Once they come off the pit, they're going into the warmers, and right before they get to the customer, they're dunked again in that peach habanero glaze, and we're giving you that. That's where the craft of the barbecue comes from. Then we take some of our brisket and we make brisket jambalaya. You know, we're making brisket jambalaya, which is, oh my God, man, it's crazy, bro. You know, I mean, there's all sorts of things that you can get here at Class 1 that no one, and I mean no one in Amarillo or the immediate area is doing. You know, we're not just doing Central Texas barbecue, but we're doing Central Texas craft style barbecue. And there are some new things that we're going to throw out there this spring, summer too.
Heck yeah. I love it. So I've always wondered, because I think that, so I fancy myself pretty good at making greens. My grandmother was from Tulsa, and so like
Okay.
I have that in me. I have that in me.
I got you.
She used to make these greens where she'd take collard greens and she would take big old fat pieces of like pork belly, like lardons, and slowly cook them down first, and then add the onions, and then saute all that, and like then she'd have the greens, saute the greens, and then chicken stock, and then apple cider vinegar. But each step had a period of time in between it. Like she had the bacon had to get the right color to get the right flavor, and then the onions had to get to the right spot, and then the greens had to get coated with all that fat that was in there, and like it's those processes. Like, hey, to me, like greens are where it's at. Like if I go to a barbecue place, I always get the greens because I always want to know, like, okay, like does it have that mouthfeel? Like is that stock tender? Is the leaf gonna like fall apart? Like, it's a delicate balance in everything barbecue. Like you're 5 degrees off on either way. I mean, probably even less than that, I would imagine. And you go from ideal to real quick.
Oh yeah. You'll definitely love our greens. I mean, our greens, my wife and daughter both make them. My daughter, even though she's 30 years old, she's got the soul of a 70-year-old in the kitchen, man. She's an old soul in the kitchen. So, whenever you get our dirty greens, you're going to get it's the greens with cabbage, slow simmer with bell peppers, seasoning, herbs, and it's got a smoked turkey in it.
Oh,
and that's just slow simmered, dude. And it's just, I mean, we've had guys, tell us fill up a whole cooler full of greens, and they'll, we've had people who haven't had greens in years because maybe they've had a bad experience with it. When they taste ours, now they're like, man. So, yeah, we want to give you that family feel. When you come sit down and have our greens and our sides. Yeah.
I love it. So talk to me about cold smoke, because I think a lot of cold smoke is another one of those areas of barbecue where there are a vast number of ideas behind it. But what's the temperature for a cold smoke? Like, what's the cold smoke look like?
So whenever we load the pit with the briskets, we'll do a cold smoke for about 2 to 3 hours, and we'll hold that temperature anywhere between 150 and 175 on the smoker. Again, we're doing just what we say we're doing. We're just laying down smoke on the meat, and we do that for a few reasons. Number one, It helps the brisket settle into its environment. It gets it used to, it prepares it for what's coming after that 3 hours, which is that, convection heat. And, that's where we get the most smoke on it. A brisket's only going to take so much smoke. Also, when meat is when it's raw, that's when it attracts the most heat. So we want to focus on laying down a real nice layer of smoke on that meat. Get it relaxed, get it used, get it comfortable to its environment, get it loosened up. And then after that, and it also preps the bark on the brisket to be set. So once we do that for about 2 or 3 hours, and we know we've got that brisket to where we want it, then we'll go ahead and ramp up the heat to 225 and beyond, and start really getting down the road with smoking meat. And after that 3 hours, then, we'll wrap the edges with foil paper to keep them from crisping up, keep the flat from curling up, which sometimes you'll see. And once we do that after 3 hours, and we close the doors on those smokers, we won't look at those briskets again for about another 5-6 hours. And then when we go to look at them after about 9-10 hours, man, that bark is nice and dark and black and crisp and set. Yeah. So that's why we cold smoke, to get that brisket prepped to where we want it.
That's awesome. I've got a whole bunch of new ideas, because I've been asked to smoke some brisket at our bear camp this spring, and I've been like, okay, I'll do it. I'm going to do it. But now I have a whole new set process to it.
Yeah. I mean, everybody does things different. Everybody does, have their own way of doing it, but this is how we do it here at Class 1.
Right. But it gets back to what you were saying earlier is, this is not just, do it this way. This is why. And for someone like me, when I hear the why, like, oh, that makes total sense. And I can apply that to the physical, act of it.
Right. Right. I mean, if you ever find your way in Amarillo, man, bring you some coffee and a Snickers. I'll take you through a whole 12, 14 hour smoke.
Oh, you're tempting the wrong guy. I'm already I'm sitting here planning. I'm like, I got to get some of these beef at the three poppers. Yeah. I got to get the greens. I need the brisket. I need this turkey. Yeah. Talk to me about. So, okay. Before I ask the real controversial questions, because I've got controversial questions I got to ask.
Okay.
But turkey, you said y'all put turkey in your greens. Are you smoking turkeys too?
We do smoke turkey. We smoke turkey breasts, and they're huge. They're massive. And we smoke those for about 4 hours.
How do you keep them from drying out? Like, I cannot smoke a darn turkey breast for the life of me without just getting I don't want to eat this.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I got what you're saying. Well, I mean, just like any poultry, you want to brine it.
Okay.
You have to brine it. It's one thing to bake chicken or grilled chicken, but if you're going to smoke any type of fowl, you have to brine it. Because if you don't, it's going to be dry. It's going to be dry. I don't care if it's pheasant, chicken, turkey, duck, whatever. It's going to be dry if you're going to smoke it. So you have to brine it. We do have a house brine that we make. Our poultry is brined for about 12 hours. And after
That's
that, 12 hours. And after that 12-hour brine, then we let it drip dry in the fridge for another 12 hours. And then it goes on the smoker. So you have to brine it first.
All right. I am adding brine to my poultry. That's that's just 12 hours. See, you can
do it longer. You can do it longer, but and I have gone longer. I've gone 24 hours. I mean, it all depends on at least 12 hours or longer.
Okay. I'm going to get into that.
You can definitely tell the difference. There have been a lot of people who used to sleep on our turkey, because a lot of times when people think of smoked turkey, they automatically think, oh, it's dry. and then we cut them off a piece and let them taste it. Like, oh my God, yeah, let me get a pound.
Yeah, let's go.
Let me get a pound of that, and they're sharing it with their spouse, and they're like, oh my God, yeah, let me get a half a pound or a pound of that. And then next thing you know, they're calling you for the holidays. Hey, can you smoke me a turkey? So yeah, I mean, there's no secret to that. I mean, you just got to brine it. Just take your time, make a good brine, dunk it, set it in that brine, let it rest at least 12 hours, let it sit in there and just absorb all that juice.
Man, all right.
That's my wife's favorite, the turkey.
Well, I've had smoked turkey in a few places, and it's like when you get that smoked turkey, that's like, oh, okay, yeah. Like this is it.
Yeah,
but again, yeah, that gets back to what we're talking about with the craft, right? It's not just this singular thing where, oh, well, we do brisket, great, but our sides are okay, and turkeys. Like, I feel like if someone could get turkey just dialed, like that's a sign of, because in my mind, I go to, wow, someone took a lot of time to figure this out and do it.
Exactly. I mean, you can rest assured that everything you get as far as the proteins in class 1, they've gone through research and development. They've gone through extensive research and development, dude. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Controversial question.
Sure.
Everybody really loves their pellet smokers.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on pellet smokers for folks at home? Because I'll share my opinion on pellet smokers. I'm not a fan. I don't care for them. I don't think that they deliver the same smoke, and I've gone rounds with people about this. Like, I don't feel like, I think that pellet smokers have ruined the time that it takes to do barbecue, and folks just like, they'll put something on and they just kick it right up to 225, and they wait for 4 hours to be done, and then they call me and they're like, well, it didn't really get the bark on it, didn't get crispy. And now, actually, as I say this, we just talked about this, is like that letting it set and letting that cold smoke and letting it absorb. Like, there's a whole process that has to happen. So I guess I don't really have a controversial question anymore. I guess I answer that as I go.
I mean, I to piggyback on what you said, I think pellet smokers, in my opinion, have taken away the love. It's taken away the authenticity of barbecue. I mean, if you think about it, you go back 100 plus years ago, there was no such thing as a rotisserie. There was no such thing as a pellet smoker. Everyone did things wood, fire, smoke. There was no gas or electricity. I mean, you go down to Lockhart, barbecue capital of Texas, and you go to Smitty's, those pits have been going for 125 years. My wife's father, he used to smoke barbecue in the ground. My wife's Hispanic. So on the Hispanic side, they did a lot of what they call barbacoa, and they smoked the meat in the ground. So I think when it used to just irk me when you hear guys saying, oh yeah, I smoked the brisket, turned out good, and he's got a pellet smoker, you just put seasoned it, trimmed it up as what you thought was good enough as far as a trim, and you put it on the season up, put it on your smoke, and you went to bed. I think this is a time. I think this, to me, barbecue is a man thing. You know what I'm saying? It's a manly thing. And I think that if you're going to be a man, then you need to take the time and preparation to do what I consider a time-honored tradition of picking out the right brisket, trimming it appropriately, seasoning it, building your fire with wood and charcoal to get it started if you need to, and being out there nurturing it, babying it, pampering it. You trust me, you will appreciate it afterwards if you taking that time. And I'm just gonna put this out there too to add to the controversy.
I love it.
To my guys out there who smoke a brisket for 4 or 5 hours and then you finish it off in your oven, that ain't smoking meat. I'm sorry. That is not smoking meat, in my opinion.
Nope.
That's not, all you're doing is putting on some smoke and then you're letting the oven, you might as well be on a pellet smoker. I mean, to these people, if the electrical grid goes out, you're in trouble. Whereas class one, we're still going down the road, baby.
Love it.
You can just give me some mechanical cash register, and I'm still gonna be able to make money. Whereas if the power grid goes out, you're done. I mean, good grief. And then God forbid if you don't pay your gas bill, you're out of there. I mean, that's just my opinion, dude. I just feel like if you're gonna smoke meat, smoke meat.
Yeah.
Don't be in the break room at work bragging about, I smoked the brisket. It's just not the same.
So do people bring? So that's actually good. Do people that don't know? Do they bring you brisket? And they're like, hey, what do you think of this, Charles? Like, what do you think of my brisket?
I have had a couple of friends that have done that.
Now,
when I work.
I have a hard time being honest with people a lot of times when they bring me food, because folks be like, "Oh, chef, you got to try this. Like, what do you think of this?" And I used to be like, really, I didn't want to hurt their feelings. Right. And so now I've learned that it wasn't really helping them grow if I'm not giving them honest feedback.
Right. And now, I mean, I'm like you. I'm open to criticism. I don't wear my feelings on my sleeve. I mean, give me constructive criticism to help me get better. And I tell my customers too, if there's anything out of whack, let me know so that I can fix it. I think one of the most honest people I've ever met is my 4-year-old granddaughter. She loves Papa's brisket. She'll tell you. She will let you know if it's bad. So if my 4-year-old granddaughter can do it, then I'm definitely going to tell you. I've had some friends smoke brisket, shoot me some pictures, ask me what I think, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. This is not good. This is not good. You need to do this. You need to do that. And I've even shared with them, hey, come get up under my wing and watch what I do. None of them have ever done it. But I mean, if you don't want the truth from me, don't ask me. Don't ask me. I'm not saying I'm God's gift to smoking meat, but I know some things. I know some things.
I love that you have your granddaughter, because you are absolutely right. Like, there is no more honesty than a young kid who's learning what they like and what they don't like, and there is zero filter. There is zero filter.
Oh, she don't have one, bro. The governor is off that, man. The governors are gone, man. She will tell you exactly how the cow eat the cabbage. Like, no. She'll tell you the truth.
That's awesome.
When
it comes to wood, so out here we don't have mesquite. So mesquite doesn't exist on the West Coast. We import everything from Texas if we do get mesquite. I've used a lot of pecan, peach, and cherry. Have you messed with those other, like, how much effect does the wood have on the overall flavor of barbecue?
I've never smoked with pecan or fruit wood. My dad did. Normally, if he was going to do chicken or something, or even pork, he would use fruit wood. Cherry, apricot, peach wood. He would use, like I said, fruit woods for poultry and pork. When it comes to, your tougher proteins like beef, brisket, you want to use a hardwood. You can use hickory. You can use oak, which is the wood of choice for Central Texas, the post oak. Mesquite, the only time we'll use mesquite here at Class 1 is in the beginning of the cook with the brisket. And we're only using 4 logs. So we're using 2 logs of mesquite, 2 logs of post oak. Mesquite gives off a very strong smoke. It burns hot and it burns fast, and it puts off a lot of smoke. It's highly advised that you not use mesquite for an entire cook. But my man, Miguel Vidal, who used to have Valentina's Barbecue, He smoked entire briskets with mesquite. But, here at Class 1, the wood of choice is post oak for all of our meats. And the only time we use mesquite is in the beginning of the smoke with our briskets. We'll incorporate 50-50, and after that 3 hours, we go straight post oak. Does the wood give off a flavor? Yes, it does. I often tell people that wood is also an ingredient. Because different woods give off different smoke, give off different flavors. I mean, trust me, if you smoke a whole brisket for 12 to 14 hours with cherry wood, it's going to tell it. Don't do that.
Noted.
So yeah, don't do that, my friend. You don't want to put a heat round in the tube and you got it table. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you put it in terms and I can start to really understand. Yeah.
I'm trying to make this where a tanker can understand it.
Well, if you got tankers understanding what to do here, you're doing a pretty good job.
Right.
Man, I tell you what, Charles, thank you so much for taking the time today to sit down and chat with me and share a smile and a laugh and share your family's experience through barbecue and through food. I'm excited. I'm going to get my butt down there. I need to do it. As I need that. I am on a mission. I'm going to get down there. We're going to come eat some barbecue.
True.
Where can folks find you? On the most part, where can folks find you?
So every week we are open Wednesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. or sell out. Our address is 2963 Blackburn Street here in Amarillo, Texas. You can also call your orders in. That number is area code 806-910-8640. So yeah, and right now we are in a food truck, but we are praying that God will bless us with a brick and mortar this year.
Excellent. Yes. That was going to be a question that I had, is brick and mortar down the road. So
yes, definitely. I'm praying that God blesses us with a brick and mortar. Will we sell our food truck when that happens? Nope, we're going to keep it. We figure we can kill two birds with one stone. We get the brick and mortar up and running. We can take the food truck, load it up, stock it up, put it downtown Amarillo. So people that can't get out of those high-rise buildings and get to where we are, they got the food truck centrally located down there and they get it down there too. So yeah, we're gonna keep that food truck. We'll also keep it for events, special events, things of that nature.
I love it. I'm so excited for y'all. I like I said, I've watched your journey from the outside, and so getting a piece of it from the inside really puts further perspective on it. I am so excited to see how much y'all grow. We'll put in our prayers as well to get that brick and mortar done.
Appreciate it, man.
And Charles, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
All my best to the family. I look forward to catching up. I'm going to tell as many people as I possibly can to get their butts down there and come try some barbecue. And I'm going to get myself down there as well.
Sounds good, man. I'll shoot you my personal number when we get off here, Andrew.
Yes, please do.
But yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. I appreciate you, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of Here From Where. Thanks for tuning in, and if you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. A huge thanks to Justin Pitaleski for the music and sound production, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep moving forward. All the best, and happy cooking.